Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals, Coffee House, and Belgrose Funeral Home.
Good evening and welcome to Altos, a weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and broadcast on Trinity TV and TTT. I'm Raymond Sims. Our top stories this week. AEC bishops hold high-level discussions in Rome. The president of the Antilles Episcopal Conference, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon, hopes the region's unique experience will help shape the wider church's thinking. Encouraging signs as data gathered over the Easter period reveal growth in the number of persons joining the Catholic Church. Pope Leo holds historic discussions with the Archbishop of Canterbury, the head of the Anglican Church. And later we have in studio Father Jesse Maingot as we discuss the 33-day journey to Corpus Christi and the Eucharistic Jesus. Top of the news, the bishops of the Antilles Episcopal Conference have met with Pope Leo XIV. The meeting took place at the Vatican on Thursday morning as part of their ad limina visit to Rome. The ad limina visit is an essential moment in the life of the Church, held periodically, in which the bishops make a pilgrimage to Rome to pray at the tombs of the apostles St. Peter and St. Paul, and to strengthen the bonds of communion with the Pope. Let's take a listen at the bishops' meeting with the Holy Father.
This anthology of Caribbean portal first anniversary card here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your leadership and your pastoring of the people of God.
Your Holiness, on behalf of the bishops of the filial affection and deep communion with our, especially the migrant, the poor, the least, the little, the last, is especially refreshing.
And we will have more on this meeting in our program next week. From April 27th, bishops from the Antilles Episcopal Conference have been holding discussions with top-level officials at the Vatican on a range of issues facing the Caribbean, including climate vulnerability, family life, protection of children from sexual abuse, and migration. These high-level discussions are part of the ad limina visit to Rome, which began on April 27th and ends on May 3rd. The talks give the hierarchy of the regional church the opportunity to raise concerns directly with Vatican officials. Altos reporter Kaylan Jordan has more in this report.
President of the Antilles Episcopal Conference, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon, says discussions on key issues facing the Antilles and the Caribbean are aimed at ensuring that the region's unique experience shapes the wider church's thinking.
In our exchanges, the hope is to bring this particularity to the universal conversation and allow light to be shed so that we can see our mission and see the challenges, not just as challenges, but also as grace and opportunities for evangelization.
On Wednesday, the team met with the Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, the Vatican body instituted by Pope Francis in 2014 to prevent sexual abuse and protect children and vulnerable adults. They have also had discussions with Vatican officials on other key issues facing the region, including climate change and migration.
In our region, we are the second most vulnerable region for climate change. And that's always a major issue. When we had the Venezuela crisis, Trinidad and Tobago received thousands and thousands of migrants.
His Grace noted that beyond those challenges, the region's history continues to shape family life in distinct ways.
We've had a 400-year structure of families disrupted through the plantation system, and so a structure that is different from what you see everywhere else in the world.
Meetings also focus on evangelization in the digital space.
What Pope Benedict called the digital continent is a place where we have to be missionaries also, not just to bring the message there, but also to shape the interaction in the digital media.
The ad limina visit runs until May 3rd. Archbishop Gordon describes this as a rare moment of exchange between the local and universal church.
Very special moment in the life of a bishop and in the life of the Conference of Bishops. It's a moment where we come together to the Holy City, to the Eternal City, and we come here to find communion, to listen deeply to the heartbeat of the church.
I am Kayla Jordan reporting for Catholic News, Altos.
The data received on the number of people baptized into the Catholic Church on Glorious Saturday has shown encouraging signs. Catholic News Altos spoke to Gillian Rubin, Director of Catechetics, about this development. Lara Pickford-Gordon tells us more.
There has been an increase in the number of adults entering the Catholic Church from 125 last year to 206 this year through the Order of Christian Initiation of Adults. Based on information received by the Catechetical Office, the Southern Vicariate recorded the highest number with 50 persons, followed by Suburban with 47. Gillian Rubin, Director of Catechetics, said the increase was a hopeful and encouraging sign, but it was just the beginning.
What has to happen now, and every parish, there must be intentional actions which would allow for our fully initiated, or now called neophytes, to be accompanied along the missionary discipleship pathway.
Now that the neophytes have made their first steps into missionary discipleship, Rubin said parishes must continue formation and help them deepen their sacramental life.
So we're looking at encouraging them to participate fully, regularly, every Sunday in the liturgies, encouraging the newly initiated or the neophytes to take every opportunity to avail themselves of the sacrament of penance and provide opportunities for them to deepen their prayer life.
Rubin said an essential part of the parish accompaniment is building the relationship with Christ.
Exposing them to a number of different prayer experiences, making sure they become familiar with praying with Scripture, making sure they are familiar with forms of meditative and contemplative prayer, because in all of these ways they build their relationship with Christ.
This is Lara Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
And in what has been described as the first of its kind for a non-governmental organization in Trinidad and Tobago, the Chest and Heart Association has launched a youth virtual reality health education lab, utilizing technology education to promote behavior change. It's in keeping with the principle that health education has to move beyond traditional communication, chalk and talk, to reach young people in the digital age. Lara Pickford-Gordon tells us about this initiative.
Chair of the Chest and Heart Association, Yvonne Lewis, said the organization focuses on prevention, advocacy, and effective care and support for persons affected by chest and heart diseases. She said the primary target for the association is youth. Lewis is the former Director of Health Education and Health Promotion at the Ministry of Health. She spoke of research findings which were startling.
As far back as 2011, when we found a cohort of youth ages 7 to 12 who were obese, they had already developed elevated blood pressure, elevated blood sugar, elevated cholesterol. That's stunning.
Lewis said lifestyle choices lead to increased risk factors for many things.
Not only chronic diseases, because remember, children tend to be healthy, but it also will affect their ability to achieve their full potential.
Josiah Duke, a youth member of the Chest and Heart Association, said the virtual lab provided an immersive, informative, and gamified experience which helps foster a more health-conscious generation using technology which youth enjoy.
Now, flyers are good, social media advertisements are great, but you cannot get much more in their face, literally, than the virtual reality experience. It places the message directly in front of them and creates a deeper awareness, a deeper level of awareness and sensitivity to the consequences of negative health behaviors.
Peter Jeffrey, treasurer of the Chest and Heart Association, shared with Altos why the initiative is so important.
This lab is done in collaboration with the Digital and Shell Foundation. It promotes healthy lifestyles among the youth. We teach them about the dangers of smoking, healthy nutrition. We teach them about physical activity, the benefits and why it's important.
This is Lara Pickford-Gordon for Catholic News, Altos.
Easter is a season, and one parish cluster has taken the message of the resurrection to the streets. The Santa Rosa Malabar Catholic community took their faith outside the church walls, and the response and turnout were beautiful. Clisha Best has more.
No pews, no stained glass, just feet on pavement and faith on full display. The Emmaus Walk is usually a spiritual walk and not a physical one, but the Santa Rosa Malabar cluster used their Emmaus Walk as a reminder that Easter does not end when the Mass is over. Led by Father Robert Christou, they carried blessed Easter water, oil, rosaries, simple prayer guides, and church bulletins for the people. Writing on his social media page, Father Christou said that the response from the public was mixed. Some were uninterested, but many were said to be deeply moved. Father Christou said some even asked, "Are you all Catholics?" A question which he said proves that witness speaks louder than words, taking the gospel to the streets where it belongs. I am Clisha Best for Catholic News, Altos.
Last Saturday, the National Trust hosted a lecture and tour of the historic St. Joseph Roman Catholic Church. The church was built on exactly the same site as the old edifice from Spanish times, with the financial assistance of Governor Sir Ralph Woodford. The architecture of the church is considered simple Gothic revival, with buttresses and large lancet windows. The existing facade has retained most of the character of the original 1815 building. The National Trust shared this brief video of their lecture and tour with Altos.
At St. Joseph, Trinidad's first capital, history lives in the landscape. This weekend, the National Trust hosted the Tooth Bagay lecture series on site at the St. Joseph RC Church. Historian Dr. Glenroy Tate traced the island's early history. Restoration architect Rudlin Roberts shared the work behind the cemetery's renewal. Antilles Defoe of Guyap Heritage Consultants brought the stories of the tombs to life. Together they revealed a record of people, place, and identity preserved in stone.
So we're off to a break now, and when we return, we'll interview Father Jesse Maingot.
The Archdiocese of Port of Spain is going to begin another 33-day journey to the Eucharist.
Join me and Father Jesse, How to Be His, starting May 2nd. You're not too small to go on a journey with God.
Are you excited to do the journey?
Yes,
okay.
I am.
And welcome back. We have on set with us one of the workers of the church, one of the hard workers of the church, Father Jesse. Today is May 1st, today is the feast of St. Joseph, right?
Amen.
So we are one of the workers of the church. And Eucharist. Last year you were here with us for Eucharistic Congress.
Yes, that's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have it this year. We're talking Eucharist again. We're talking about how to be His.
And I don't know if you realize, providentially, the Eucharistic Congress began today on the Feast of St. Joseph the Worker, with the 9-day adoration and then culminating in the Oval. So I was now thinking about that.
All right, so Father Jesse, tell me, how did this book come about? How to be His?
When I was a priest, my first years as a priest in Ireland, because I'm part of the Irish Dominican province, a lady came to me in Newbridge, where I was living, and she said, there's this amazing 33-day consecration to Our Lady in Poland, and I want to translate it into English, and you could preach it.
Right.
And I had done 33-day dedications or consecrations to Our Lady before in my personal life, but it was like a thunderbolt insight for me. I was right. As she was speaking, I heard the Lord asking me to write a 33-day book on the Eucharist. Right. And I realized no book at the time existed. Okay. This is before Matthew Kelly wrote his book.
Right.
So I started to write the book, and I realized, you know, everybody's speaking about everybody else, but the most central mystery, the life of the church, Jesus in his Eucharistic form. Yeah. So and of course my own personal devotion to the Eucharist has been just for me where I have experienced my greatest freedom, source and healing, and has given me the love to be with Jesus himself, to keep going and to give myself. You know, time in prayer is not just an isolated time. Yeah, it's also about what you will do for others from that time.
Right. And who's Father Ignatius? Is he what?
So Father Ignatius is a Dominican from the St. Joseph province, actually in America. Myself and him collaborate on some Dominican initiatives. We started something called the Dominican House of Prayer, which is like a platform to promote spiritual life and spiritual theology and invite the laity into a contemplative revolution in the church. So I asked Father Ignatius to jump on board with this with me because we do a lot of work together. He's a great brother, a real serious man of God, and talk about a laborer in the vineyard, really is. And so he's a co-author.
All right. So this book, I was kind of going through it a little bit, right? And there are 3 sections, right? Yes. The 3 sections deal with saints, they deal with the history of the Eucharist, the Church's teachings on the Eucharist. Yes. Which of the 3 sections you particularly like? Because I like the Church's teaching on the Eucharist.
Yeah, and that is honestly that a lot of people get a lot out of that section. Yes. I love the saints. That was the one I was so excited to get to write. Right. Because the saints are just so contagious with their love of the Eucharist. And I think their lives, their witness is anointed to touch our lives. So I personally, which one to pick? I don't know. I love St. John Paul II that day. Just love Pope St. John Paul and his Eucharistic love, you know.
Excellent. A question. How should people use this book? The 33 days journey begins tomorrow, May 2nd. Correct. Leading up to Corpus Christi. But how should people be using this book during this journey?
We want to keep it simple, right? Simple is best is how Jesus preached.
Yes.
Jesus gathered people together. I encourage people to be a missionary, to pick a few friends, to discuss the book once a week, maybe in your living room. Or if it's in your parish, maybe you might be able to facilitate Father or the administrator in the parish to have a group to discuss the book. Right. So that's if you have the book. But if you don't have the book, we've made a digital journey, which we're hoping will roll out in all our Catholic schools as well. Okay. And so Father David Kahn is working hard to try and do that across our Catholic primary schools and get the youth in this journey with the digital side. But so you can go to
CatholicTT.org.
CatholicTT.org. We'll have information, suggestions how to make the journey, where you could get free audio versions of the book. All right. So you're traveling or you're driving or wherever you are, you could listen to the book by audio.
But there's something on Trinity as well, not so?
6 p.m. daily, and it will also have a benediction. So the time for prayerful spiritual communion in that time as well, 6 p.m. daily. And you could also check Trinity TV YouTube playlist, where they will have the videos.
Now, I've taken you a little slightly off.
Yeah, that's okay.
One of the things that you say here in the lead up to those 33 days is that you need to find a quiet place.
Yes.
How important is that?
I think that's very important. I think if you read the book, if you have the book in hand, read the section about how to use the book, and also there's an audio version of that part on CatholicTT.org, and it will explain. It's really important. This is not just reading a book. We're hoping that this is an invitation to discover God in his truth, the truth he revealed. So the way the Catholic Church understands truth and the divine truths of the faith, doctrines are not static. They actually are guardians that lead us to actually make contact with Jesus himself, who is truth. So when you're meditating on this book, you're doing it in a prayerful way. If something moves your heart, pause, stop. This book is full of great quotes. I mean, I think that's why the book is good. It's not because of me. It's because I wanted to write a book just to give the quotes I love. That's why I wrote the book. My writings or whatever, it's the saints, it's the teachings of the church that are electric with grace and truth. And I think that's where the power and the beauty of the book is, if I could say that.
Another question, though, is that in our time, it's very difficult to find the time to be still.
So I think this is where your groups are important. You could also have an accountability process in your group with your friends. Have you read? Have you found a time? Give somebody permission to hold you accountable to your sacred reading.
Right.
So at home, maybe first thing in the morning, you might want to wake up a little
right.
early.
Yes.
That means go to
like
bed a little early.
4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, depending.
Depends, because you have to be the traffic and all sorts of things. Travel, get it, you know. So, or maybe in the evening, you know, you come home from work, just create space. The days are not long. It's like 3 pages.
Okay.
So I mean, 15 minutes, you would have your contribution for the day.
Right.
But of course, if you could get to a church, and that's going to be hard for especially the working population. Right. But if you could create that silence in your day, it will change your life. Right. Just because it's not just only about the book; it's about a spiritual movement.
Okay.
That people will be praying for each other. Some people will be fasting for each other. So there's a spiritual movement of prayer. That's why it's powerful. Right. And that is what I really want to underline.
Right. And then at the end of this 33-day journey,
yes.
Leading up to Corpus Christi, what happens next?
Well, the book speaks about certain holy resolutions you could make to try and improve the Eucharistic life of the church.
Right.
You know, attitudes. It's in the book. But we have an Archdiocese Confraternity of the Blessed Sacrament. So if you feel drawn to live more deeply a Eucharistic life and want to learn what that is, also with mission, then you could look up the information. And we have the Archdiocesan website is called EucharistiaGloria.org.
Okay.
EucharistiaGloria.org.
All right.
And that is where you could sign up, register, and we have monthly formations for people in the laity. We also have 3 times a year a day retreat. And it's a very powerful community that has been formed since the Congress.
Okay. Father Jesse, you know it is. 7 minutes, it's finished. Right? But thanks for coming
Praise
on.
God.
Thanks for coming on
Amen.
set with us.
Thank you.
And we welcome you back another time. Maybe at the end of the journey we'll
love to,
right?
Share the fruits.
Yes.
Yeah. Amen.
So we've been talking to Father Jesse Maingot, co-author of the book How to Be His. We begin the 33-day journey to dedication, May 2nd.
In this Sunday's issue of the Catholic News, the editorial Unexpected Casualties raises the issue of Christian persecution around the world. There's a report on a virtual forum on regional identity hosted by the Conference on Theology in the Caribbean today. Senior writer Lara Pickford Gordon visits the art exhibition Beloved 3 and speaks with artist Sandy Jones, who was born with Down syndrome. And a former principal of St. Joseph's Convent, Port of Spain, writes on the 75th anniversary of the beatification of Blessed Anne-Marie Jaffe, foundress of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Cluny. Here's the clergy anniversary for the coming week. And some coming events. I am Raymond Sims, editor of the Catholic News.
And welcome back. You're watching Altos. Promise House TT is providing care for some of the most vulnerable in society, supporting children with chronic illness, offering hospice care for adults, and a home for the elderly. But for families navigating childhood illness, that support can make a critical difference. For this sponsored segment, Altos visited the facility in Santa Cruz to see how this home away from home is helping families stay on track during treatment, and why public support remains important.
This sponsored segment of Altos is brought to you with the kind compliments of Belgrove's Funeral Home. We do more than just say we care.
Inside Santa Cruz, a quiet space is making a difference for families facing childhood illness. Here at Promise House, children undergoing treatment stay with a parent or caregiver in a comfortable environment with convenient access to medical care.
It started off with pediatric cancer patients, but it's evolved since then. And we saw a need, there was a gap within our society where patients were not getting the care that they needed daily, which of course reduced their chance of recovery and survival. So they would come here and we would transport them to Mount Hope to receive whatever treatment they need.
Getting to medical treatment multiple times a week can be a challenge, especially for those coming from more rural communities. Promise House removes that barrier.
We realize that the need is not just for cancer patients. There are other patients who have other chronic diseases that require treatment that may be difficult for their families to get them to on a daily basis. So we've reached out to quite a few pediatricians and health centers and let them know that we offer this service.
The impact goes beyond accommodation, helping to ease both emotional and financial strain on families.
It's one less thing for mom and dad to worry about. So they know that they have a comfortable place for their kid and themselves to stay, and it's free, so they don't have to worry with that added cost. And the added cost of transportation is also taken away because we cover that cost as well.
Much of this support is driven by community, with young people playing a key role in bringing the space to life.
A lot of the schools came out to help and continue reaching out to us to help. Their kids come and do all kinds of things.
Our gardens.
Yeah, they do they help us with our gardening. They helped us paint. This wonderful mural was done by a young person.
Sophia Sorrow did this mural for us.
Promise House is turning to the community through their upcoming 5K.
We have the link on Instagram, and there's just a link you go into and you could sign up. It's $150. The first 500 people, you can get a free t-shirt.
But hurry up and sign up because we're running out of those t-shirts.
Yeah.
And for those who want to support the work being done,
come and see our space. If you come and see our space, you're going to want to be a part of it.
Come and visit. Just come and visit.
I am Andre Burton for Catholic News, Altos.
This sponsored segment of Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Belgrove's Funeral Home. We do more than just say we care.
And turning to some international news, Pope Leo XIV held an audience on Monday with the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend and Right Honourable Dame Sarah Mullally, and prayed with her in the urban chapel in the Apostolic Palace. In his greetings, the Pope shared his joy to receive the Archbishop during the Easter season, recalling the historic encounter between Pope St. Paul VI and Archbishop Michael Ramsey, which took place 60 years ago. The Holy Father thanked Archbishop Mullally for her visit and prayed that Anglicans and Catholics continue to journey together in friendship and dialogue, guided by the Holy Spirit. Let's take a listen.
Good morning, Your Holiness.
Welcome. Just over a month after becoming the first female Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullally met with Pope Leo XIV at the Vatican. The new leader of the Anglican Church began her speech with this phrase from the Bible.
For he is our peace. In his flesh he has made both groups into one and has broken down the dividing wall.
She went on to thank the Pope for his kind welcome, which was part of what she called her pilgrimage to Rome, along with other members of the Anglican Church.
Your Holiness, thank you for your gracious welcome and for your prayers and kind wishes at my time of my installation. I am deeply grateful. It is a joy and privilege to be received by you together with this delegation.
After extending his formal welcome, Pope Leo, for his part, addressed some of the challenges in Catholic-Anglican relations.
This focus on the need for unity for the sake of a more fruitful evangelization has been a theme throughout my own ministry. While much progress has been made on some historically divisive issues, new problems have arisen in recent decades, rendering the pathway to full communion more difficult to discern. I know that the Anglican Communion is also facing many of these same questions at this time. Nevertheless, we must not allow these continuing challenges to prevent us from using every possible opportunity to proclaim Christ to the world together.
The two leaders then proceeded to exchange gifts. For example, Archbishop Mullally gave the Pope a book by St. John Henry Newman, who was recently declared a Doctor of the Church by Pope Leo himself. The gift exchange was then followed by a short time of prayer presided over by Pope Leo XIV. This historic moment comes not long after another back in October 2025, when the King of England and the Pope prayed together in the Sistine Chapel.
And that's a wrap on our show for this week. Thank you for viewing. As usual, we encourage you to pray for Trinidad and Tobago, read your Bible and learn your faith. As we get ready for the 33-day journey to dedication to our Eucharistic Jesus, which begins on May 2nd, leading up to the feast of Corpus Christi, we here at Altos want to join His Grace Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon and Father Jesse Maingot in encouraging families and parishes to be part of this prayerful journey, to grow in love and devotion to Christ, truly present in the Eucharist. We leave you now with some of the sights and sounds of the Eucharistic Congress held last May at the Queen's Park Oval.
Altos was brought to you with the kind compliments of Rituals Coffee House and Belgrose Funeral Home. We do more than just say we care.